Okay, start smiling now.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the technical difficulties. 1 minute, please. Testing. Okay, I think we're in business. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this Passport to iEARN Giving Tuesday session called Introducing NSLI Alumni. My name is Signe, and I'm a program coordinator for the NSLI program here at iEARN-USA.
And my name is Ligaya, and I am also program coordinator with the NSLI program at iEARN-USA. And we'd also like to introduce our fabulous alumni and current intern, Dio. You can introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Diogenes Ortiles, and I am a Korea 2017 summer alumni, and I'm happy to be here.
Great. Okay, sorry, technical difficulties again with this microphone. All right. Okay. I don't know why this is so funny, but we're gonna. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we're having technical difficulties. We can't stop laughing. But we're really excited to introduce these wonderful, fabulous NSLI alumni. Actually, there are two current students who are not alumni yet who will be presenting on video. So not quite live, but almost live from Korea. So. Checking this microphone. All right, so this microphone is working, and we're going to transfer over this video. I hope you have as much fun as we're having now.
Hi everybody, I'm Isabella and this is my friend Juanita. We're currently year students on the NSLI Academic Year program in Korea. The title is a little bit of our summary of the presentation. NSLI-Y, more like NSLI yes, because it's a great program and we hope that we can show you a lot about it through this presentation.
We have Who Are We, which is just a little introduction of ourselves, then how we adjust to Korea, how our language classes go, how different it is going to a high school in Korea. Also our experience with our host family and just our final thoughts about the program in general.
As I said, my name is Isabella, and this is actually my second time doing NSLI. I'm a Korea summer alum. I went to Songdo, South Korea in 2016 for the summer program, so for 6 weeks. And I studied at SUNY Korea, the university there. And then I came back from the summer and decided that I simply had to go back. And so came back and filled out the application, and I'm fortunate enough to be here right now. In America, I graduated high school, so NSLI, I'm using it as a gap year. And when I go back to America, I'll be going to the Georgetown University School of Foreign Service, which is very exciting. I personally found out about NSLI from a friend at school, and from personal research, because my school happened to have a couple NSLI summer alums that I was able to talk to and find in some of my classes. Personally, I chose Korea because of my sophomore AP World History class. I'm not sure if any of you have taken that, but I'm sure you're aware of how quickly I have to go through the subject and how everything is a little bit glossed over. I found myself really interested in the Cold War. I researched that on my own, and that got me into the Korean War, and that's the point where my interest in Korea just started snowballing.
Okay, and I'm Juanita. From my name, you can tell I'm not just American. I'm Colombian American. I've been interested in languages from a young age. I went to Morocco when I was younger, and I was surrounded by a new culture, and I became interested in languages. I was living in Colombia then, and I was learning English at school and French. So I've just grown learning languages. I found out about NSLI through an alum from high school who did the China summer in 2015, and is actually doing China year right now too. And I'll be going to the University of South Florida, the Mama College of Business, class of 2022. I'm also using this as a gap year like Isabella is doing. And I chose Korea because living in Florida, which is where I'm from, it's a very diverse state, and being in different clubs in my high school, I got to meet, I got to make Korean friends and other like Vietnamese and Japanese friends, and just listening to the different languages, Korean really caught my attention. I always thought it was a really nice language. It sounded really beautiful. And then from there, I just did more research and started liking the culture and all the things that come with it. So I became really interested in Korea. And then my friend told me about it, and I ended up applying, and now I'm here.
So as you might imagine, especially for the year program, NSLI and iEARN really try to support you even from before the program, because we are here for 9 months. No matter how you look at it, we're coming straight out of high school to live in this very different country, I think in all cases, for a pretty long period of time. So basically, right when we got our acceptance letters, we made a group chat with ourselves, so we got to learn all the people who were on the program as soon as possible, because it doesn't matter that we're going to be there with them for 9 months. We had to know them right as soon as we got it, the notifications in May. And then as the summer went on, we got emails from RRDs and the people who take care of us here in Korea, where the nonprofit that takes care of us here is called Better World, and that's where our RDs work. So we got to talk with them and the iEARN staff just to let us know what going to Korea would look like, and what our time is going to be, how it's going to be spent here. And of course, because this is a language learning program, we did get some homework, and that homework, I wouldn't say it's really to teach you any Korean before the program. It's to make sure you have the basics to, quite honestly, be able to survive, for those first weeks when you're not necessarily taking a language class. And as you know, for NSLI, you don't have to have any prerequisites in the language you want to learn. So a couple of the kids on our program are learning Korean for the first time, and it is important to know how to say hello and thank you, and to be able to read the language. So that's basically what our pre-program support looked like.
Yeah, and then for the in-country orientation, as soon as we arrived to Korea, the first day we had another orientation like the one we had in the U.S. They showed us how to use the subway system, how to live in Korea, ways to communicate with others, ways to adapt to the culture shocks, all of those important things that we have faced and will keep facing during these 9 months. We also had a supporting meeting, which was we met college students. They are actually the ones who showed us the subway system and took us to our first field trip in Seoul. We had presentations about how to stay safe, how to, be safe and savvy, like they also told us in the U.S. orientation. And they just really made sure we were prepared to spend 9 months here and be with our host families and adjust the easiest way possible. So it was very helpful.
So the cornerstone of NSLI, as I'm sure most of you will know, is of course learning the language that you went to the country to learn. And NSLI specifically focuses on communication because the whole point of NSLI is to improve the rapport between two countries, people of both countries. So our language classes focus most heavily on speaking, which is clearly the most useful when you're totally immersed. Our classes are split by levels. Juanita and I actually happen to be in the same class. We're in the intermediate Korean class, but there are 3 classes, the beginner class, the intermediate, and the advanced. And they split us up actually at arrival orientation. You'd have to take a test and speak to the teachers in Korean. And they just, from that little interview, basically, they discern how fluent you are and where you should be placed. We spend a lot of time in Korean class. There are 3 classes a week that we go to in the afternoon because every morning we go to host school, which we'll get to a bit later. At the end of every month, we have a big test that incorporates not only speaking to prepare for our end of the program OPI, which will tell us how fluent we are in speaking, but also we have to write essays and then also go over the grammar and whatever vocabulary we learned during that month. So it's a really nice way to recap everything. And Juanita and I came up with this little phrase that we think is very true. It's fast-paced but student-based. The classes are really small, so we all have a really good rapport with our teacher, and she definitely has the best sense as to how well we all speak Korean. So a lot of the class is focused around us.
Since she can see our progress or what our weaknesses are within the language, since we're all, we all have different ways of learning and studying, she does the best she can to adjust it or create different activities. For example, a lot of us, I think everyone in the class actually likes Korean music. So she decided to make it an activity to choose a song. We all chose a fall song since we started this in the fall. And then we went through the lyrics and looked at the vocab we could learn from there. So, she just makes sure that it's something we can relate to and we can easily remember. So it's definitely student-based. She sees how we're going, how we're doing, what we need to improve on, and she just creates her own activities to see what would work and what wouldn't. So it's definitely helping us grow and improve faster. Whole school life. So here we have 2 different pictures. That's Isa with her high school. She's in the Munyo Girls High School. And I'm in the Visual Media High School. That's from a field trip to the Han River. So we go every day, 5 days of the week. Since we have our Korean classes 3 days out of the 5 days of the week, we leave early after lunch. Since Isa lives in Incheon, which is a little far from Hongdae, which is where we have our classes, she lives after second period. She doesn't get to have much time there, but it's definitely an immersion experience. You're still getting to communicate with all the students and practice your Korean. So far, they have all been very nice, and they wait for you to talk. They want you to speak, and they help you. Also, the fact that we get to participate in schools' activities, such as the one that I went to in the Han River, helps us see how different Korean high school is as compared to American high schools, how different the student life, the culture in general is. So it gives us a very unique perspective and experience that you wouldn't know unless you went to a high school here. You can come as a tourist, but these are the things you wouldn't really experience.
Definitely. And Juanita said her picture from below is from one of her field trips to the school. And one of the things I really like is that we are, considered students at the school, despite us clearly being a special circumstance. Last month, actually, I'm what's called an iEARN. I'm the equivalent of a high school freshman in Korea. And at my school, all the high school freshmen take a trip to Jeju every year, every October. And Jeju, if you don't know, is virtually the Hawaii of Korea. And the NSLI transfer students weren't sure if we were going to go, but the students and the teachers all came up to us and gave us our tickets and said, this is what you need to pack, clear your weekend because you're coming with us to Jeju. And we were treated fully like students. We roomed with them. We did all the activities. We climbed the mountains. To date, I think that's the most immersed I've felt. And that was also a great bonding experience with the girls because coming from America, I have a different, and I'm sure Juanita as well, have a very different view of what high school is. In America, you get to choose your classes, you get to have clubs pretty regularly, and to a large extent, your school life isn't necessarily your whole life. In Korea, students are at school from about 8 a.m. to 11 p.m., so most of their social life revolves completely and totally around school. And they also have a much stricter version of classes. So it's being a transfer student really allows you to make those, not only those friendships, but also those cultural connections that, taking it back to like the purpose of NSLI is really important in order to be able to understand the culture with which you want to communicate.
Yeah, and now that Isa mentioned being treated as a student, in my school, I don't know how it is in Isa's school when it comes to that, but, cleaning your own classroom is definitely important. They always make the students clean their classrooms. So we have a weekly schedule, and they put me in the schedule too. So every week it's 3 different students. So last week actually was the week I had to clean, and it was with 2 of my friends. So after school, we had to clean the chalkboard and the floors and everything, take out the trash. So, they definitely just treat you as a student, and you do have your chores. You're not the exception just because you're American. So it definitely makes you feel like you're part of it. So it's a great experience.
And host family life, which is probably one of the most exciting parts of the whole program, in my opinion. The way our program is set up, we have 1 semester. And then because we go to Korean school, we align a bit with the Korean academic year, and Koreans take about a 2-month-long break in January and February because their second semester of the year ends in December. So then we'll have our break, which for us isn't a break because we're going to Korean class every day, and then after break we complete our second semester with the Korean high school. And during this period, you can have anywhere from 1 to 3 host families, depending on, how long the host family can host you, or if you want to experience a different form of host family life. Like school, you participate fully in your family activities. As you'll see in the bottom picture, my host brother is part of a choir, which I was very glad because I'm a singer back home. I sing tons of choir, so I was very happy to have a musical host family. And this was me going to one of his many performances of Hansel and Gretel, where he played a tree, and he was my favorite tree. And it was really fun. And those are the kinds of things that you do get to experience with a host family, everything from dinner with your host grandparents, who I can assure you do not speak English, and you do have to use your language skills for that, to sitting in the theater watching your host brother with a bunch of fake leaves on his head singing to Hansel and Gretel in Korean. Those are the kinds of things you'll experience. And this is where your new language skills will come in handy the most, I would say, because you are in your host family's house every day. And it's at your host family's house that that new vocabulary will come in. So I can remember earlier this year, we were having a food quiz in class, and that day for our breakfast, my mom had set out a traditional Korean breakfast, and I went through in my head and said the names of all the side dishes, and that helped me learn the vocabulary for that day. And my dad said, try the spinach, and I got so excited because I knew the word for spinach. Now, I didn't just know because he was pointing the chopsticks at it. So that's a success in itself.
Yeah. Well, as for me, I also have whole siblings. I have 3 little sisters. They're very cute. Here I have a picture at a jjimjilbang, a Korean spa. And like Isa said, they're always excited to see you, excited to talk to you. They ask you about your day. Even though they're really busy, they're always trying to make sure that you're adjusting fine. So definitely my skills have come in handy when I need something. For example, 2 days ago I needed to buy a jacket, but since I'm from Florida, I don't know what's good to buy for winter since Florida's always hot. So, I went to my mom and asked for advice, like what would be a good jacket, what's a good place, a good price, what's cheap, what's not. And well, it really definitely helped me. I got the jacket I needed, and I also got to practice my skills. So it's, even though you do have an RD and we have, the Better World staff here, you can always just go to your family and ask them for any advice when it comes to adjusting to your life in Korea, and anything you need that might just help you and make you feel more comfortable at home. So your skills really do come in handy.
And Juanita just reminded me of this. I think the cool thing about host family life is not only the host family, but actually the community that you get to be into, because we all live in different parts of Seoul, or the girls who go to Muno actually all live in Incheon. And most of the time, you are the only 18-year-old foreign student living in the Korean home in that area. So the locals do get to know you, at the local convenience store. The lady knows me because I pass every day. The apartment security guards smile at me because they know I pass. There are a couple of high schoolers who live in this building who I leave in the morning with, because we're all leaving to high school and we're all in our uniforms. And, you do get to be part of a community that I think sometimes people think that if they go abroad, they won't have that same, familial or local feeling that you get, just from, being at home, walking to school, that kind of thing. But I can tell you it very much does happen here. And because you're here, and in my case, you look very different than the average Korean. I have blonde hair and very pale skin, so I do tend to stick out, and that's actually made for a great conversation starter. A lot of Korean students, will pull out a signature, "Hello, how are you?" while I'm passing, and then I'll be able to start the conversation in Korean because I do have those language abilities now. So I would say host family life, but also being part of a community that's not at your host school and not with your American friends.
Yeah, here you definitely stick out, not just for being a foreigner, but just, being an American who's wearing a student, like a high school uniform. Definitely not something you see often here. And now that Isa mentioned how that really helps with starting conversations with others, when I went to that Korean spot from the picture with my sisters, obviously I got a lot of stares. I was the American with 3 little Korean girls. Everyone wondering why that's happening. So a lot of people would ask me like, "Oh, you speak Korean? Like, how do you learn?" Stuff like that. So, you get to just talk a lot about your life to other people and explain why you're here. They often ask you why you like Korea. Sometimes they're going to be like, "Oh, K-pop, right? That's it." But no, you explain like your reasons for everything. And it's really cool to see other Koreans smile when they see that someone else is interested in their culture.
So my thoughts on the program are, in short, that it's actually a one-in-a-lifetime kind of opportunity. I had that same feeling when I left Songdo last year, because I knew that, before that I had never done cultural immersion. Like Juanita, actually, I'm not only American, I'm Italian-American. I was born and raised in Italy, and I moved to the U.S. In 2010 with my Italian father and my American mother. So I've been speaking several languages since I was little, but I hadn't ever spoken a language that wasn't native to me. I learned French in high school, but that's a very typical American high school experience. So I don't think I ever was able to learn a culture that wasn't mine before. And I don't know how well I would have been able to learn Korean or, any other country's culture and language, as well as the immersion that this program has offered me. And just going beyond immersion, the fact my language skills have skyrocketed just in the 2 months that I've been here. And it's actually been almost difficult for me to recognize how much more fluent I am in comparison to September 1st, because, Juanita and I both joined the intermediate class straight off. And that means we did have a basis in Korean, but now we're actually holding conversations. Recently we went to the American Army base to celebrate Thanksgiving, because American Thanksgiving is not a thing here, obviously. And we were able to invite some of our Korean friends. one Korean friend from school, and the girl I invited actually really didn't speak English. Some of the other kids go to foreign language high schools or bigger high schools in Seoul, so they might be a little more comfortable speaking in English, but because she lives in Incheon and has been more focused on other subjects, she really doesn't speak English. And because the diplomats were speaking in English, I actually found myself leaning over and translating to her. And that 2 months ago would have been impossible for me to do. But now I'm, in Korean, I didn't know the word for diplomat 2 months ago, much less how to live translate, though very simply, live translate a speech that's being given and the conversation around the table. And yesterday night, or at the Thanksgiving dinner, we also all did presentations in Korean, only in Korean. So the language that this program has afforded me, the ability to experience the culture, and last but definitely not least, the ability to make friends with American kids who are as passionate about this language as I am, has truly been a gift, and I'm so, so grateful for it. And I'm very proud to be a NSLI alumna and a NSLI student.
Yeah, Ita said pretty much everything, but I think just the experience as a whole is just unique. Not only are you spending such a long time in a new culture and a new, completely different language, environment, everything, you're also doing it with people who have the same interests, who are also trying to achieve a certain level of fluency, and you're just there to help each other. It's not like high school where you're just trying to see who gets the highest GPA or who's getting the best grade. In our class, at least, we're really close in our intermediate class, and we're always helping each other. Like, I tend to struggle with vocab, so I always ask for help with that. But as a whole, the 14 of us, we've become very close, and it definitely makes the time more enjoyable. And like Kisa said, I also struggle to realize how much I've grown when it comes to language. I remember maybe a month ago, just the first month in, I kept saying that I didn't feel like I was improving much. Because, every day, all you do is think about you're Korean. So you don't really see much growth. But compared to, if you ask other people, you really see the growth. And actually recently, Isa and I both went to a Lantern Festival, and we decided to speak only in Korean for the whole time. And I noticed how much more I could communicate and express as compared to the beginning of the program. I also, since I didn't do NSLI before, I learned through an online website. And I remember maybe like a year ago, at the end of each level on the website, they have a dialogue with every grammar point, so you can see if you understand everything. And I remember I could only understand maybe up to level 2. But last week, I decided to go through all the recordings, and up to level 6, I could understand everything. And I know it was just really good to see that I was actually understanding more, and I hadn't realized that I had actually been learning this whole time and that I was actually improving. So, definitely being with a host family, being at a host school, just learning so many new things at the same time, not just with language, is definitely something that has made us all grow as people and improve in our language skills. So I'm just very thankful to have a program like this that decided to invest in my future and in my skills as a whole. So it's a wonderful experience.
That's the end of our presentation. We're so glad that you listened, and we're able to experience just really a sliver of our everyday lives here in Korea. Again, without iEARN-USA and without NSLI, we wouldn't be able to participate in any of this. So both Juanita and I have to say huge thank yous to both of the organization and the program for allowing us to do something this amazing. And we're so glad that now you know just a little bit more about NSLI.
And like Kisa said, I'm also very grateful for everything that iEARN and Better World does. It's not an easy task, So thank you for everything, and thank you for listening. I hope this was a helpful presentation.
Well, that was really nice. Thank you so much to Isabella and Juanita for taking the time to record their presentation for us. I really liked hearing their observations about their fast language growth and how much language growth they've seen in just 2 short months. I'm just going to change the screen over to Dio's slides, and then we'll get him set up with the camera. Perfect.
Okay, hello everyone. To reintroduce myself, my name is Diogene Artiles, and I am also a Korea alumnus. I just came back from Korea this past summer, and it was an incredible experience, and I hope you enjoyed Isabella and Juanita's presentation. Today, the overarching theme is Passport to iEARN, and my presentation will detail my life after NSLI. And in this picture, I'm posing with my friend Lois, one of my best friends from Korea. So yeah, my index for today. So firstly, I will talk about my iEARN story, my NSLI experience, iEARN support for me, continuing my journey with iEARN, and iEARN opening doors. So to begin with, I will talk about my iEARN story. So coming from a low-income background, I didn't think that studying abroad would have been possible in high school, but iEARN gave me an opportunity that I otherwise wouldn't have had access to. So I always thought, I was always interested in culture and language, but I thought this was something I would pursue in college because financial aid would be more readily available. But the fact that iEARN existed and the fact that they could provide this opportunity for me in high school, which is a point in my life that I needed the expansion of maturity, I was very grateful for that. And in addition, studying abroad allowed me to solidify my passion for language, politics, and international relations. As I mentioned before, I've always been a fan of language. I've been studying French for so long, so just having this fully funded program in which I could go to another country, and as I said, I went to Korea, and study a language that I was so passionate about was incredible. And something that was very special for me about iEARN and about the NSLI experience was that I was fully immersed in South Korea. Immersion wasn't an option. I was completely 100% in an environment in which I was forced to use the language. And this amount of immersion and the environment in which I was in really motivated me. I had so many people that supported me throughout the way. And I'm really grateful for that as well. I also think something that iEARN taught me was being open-minded. So I'm from New York, and I think it's very easy for us to say we're open-minded. We're surrounded by so many cultures, and we hear so many languages, whether on the subway or on the street. But one doesn't really understand being open-minded until one is in another country that one has had no experience with. So I've been to Koreatown in Manhattan, and I've eaten kimchi fried rice. But when I went to Korea, I had to eat bulgogi and bibimbap and foods that were very not typical for me. And I think that was truly the definition of open-minded, and it really taught me what that meant. Now I will speak about cultural understanding. So as a history buff, Korean fascinated me. So for those of you who don't know, the Korean language the Korean alphabet was created overnight by King Sejong to expand democracy and to allow literacy into the kingdom. And I thought that was incredible. So that really impacted me to learn Korean. And I was also interested in the way that Confucianism impacted Korean as a language. And I have a little anecdote to emphasize that. So one day when I was buying coffee at Angel and Us, which is a local coffee shop by Ewha Yoja Daehakyo, which is the university that we studied at, the cashier asked me if I wanted a receipt for my coffee, and I said "Gwenchana," which is "it's okay." And the cashier looked offended. I was like, did I say something wrong? And he said, "It's Gwenchana yo." So that yo at the end emphasizes respect in Korean. And I was so grateful for his correction, because at that moment I understood that I was not in Korea as a visitor or as a tourist. I was there and I had to learn the language, and it was very special for me that somebody could correct me like that. And I knew it was all goodwill. And throughout those 6 weeks, I learned that correction and being open to people correcting you, and especially speaking to Korean people in that environment was very helpful for me. And in addition to learning about Korean culture, I learned a lot about American culture. So as I mentioned, I'm from New York, but so I'm only surrounded by New Yorkers a lot. But going to NSLI, which is a national program, I got to speak to people from Utah and Texas, and having these discussions during lunch about politics and about Korean politics and just culture in general, and learning the nuances of American culture, I think was really insightful for me as well. So next, I will specifically speak about iEARN support for us during the program and afterwards. So as Juanita and Isabel mentioned, we have resident directors during the NSLI program, and these resident directors, we go to them for any help that we need, whether it's language help or difficulty with adjusting to the culture. iEARN always had people there to support us. And during pre-departure, there were so many materials that were sent with us, so many lists of what we needed to pack. And my parents were very grateful for that, because I've only been to the Dominican Republic before, prior to going to Korea. And I was like, what do I need to pack to go to this Asian country? And iEARN really informed us about specific things about Korea and Korean culture that we needed to know. Like it was monsoon season, for instance, during the summer. So knowing that we needed to have a raincoat for the rain, not having this warning beforehand would have been a conflict for me. Yeah, and also, yeah. So that's iEARN support for us. And now here's a picture of me and Lagaya, one of my co-workers here in the office. And upon arriving to the United States from South Korea, I earned an internship at the iEARN office, which is something I'm incredibly grateful for. So throughout this internship, I have honed existing skills and learned new ones. And at the iEARN office, I do things such as running the NSLI Interactive website or video editing for the website as well. And I do some like Excel projects and miscellaneous tasks that the office needs. And this has been an incredible experience as I continue to participate with iEARN and not lose this connection that had such a grand impact on my life. And secondly, I knew that when I got to the United States, I wouldn't have access to Korean language classes because my school unfortunately doesn't offer Korean. So I knew I had to be proactive. So in Korea, using the stipend that Better World provided for us, I bought 2 Korean intensive grammar books, and I tried to practice at least 5 minutes a day, because I have a lot going on outside of school, but having this 5 minutes every day really reinforces my passion for language and my intensity in learning the language as well. And in addition, I forgot to mention, I have a coworker here, Yoonhee, and she's an intern from Korea. So I'm very grateful to have a person firsthand that I can practice Korean with. So she would help me with Korean and I would help her with her English. And it's just great that iEARN impacted me in this way where I seek people that I get to practice my language with. And memories just keep coming to me. The other day I was coming to work from Columbia University, and I went to this Korean food cart, and I spoke to them in Korean as well. And just having these opportunities in which I can speak to people and really put into fruition what I learned over the summer, it has been incredible, and it's so rewarding. Now I'll speak about iEARN opening doors for me. So as I may have mentioned, I'm a senior in high school and I'm applying for college. And iEARN has given me the maturity and the communication skills that I need to really stand out as a college applicant. Specifically, I'm applying for a scholarship named QuestBridge, which is a scholarship where you can apply to very good schools throughout the country. And one of the prompts that stood out to me during the QuestBridge application was that they asked me for one of my greatest accomplishments or achievements during my life. And I spoke about having a complete conversation in Korean with my host sister. So I feel like that was very unique to me, that after a long day from school and after my sister came from a long day of work, I got to sit down. I asked her how her day was, and she responded completely in Korean. And I remember in my response, I compared the conversation to a tennis match, that we throw a ball back and forth like our words. And in the game of language, there is no prize, but there is satisfaction. So that was very impacting for me as well. Now, lastly, I have some words from my mom. And I tried to preserve the authenticity of her response, so I have it in Spanish. So I'm going to read it in Spanish, and then I will translate for those who don't know Spanish. So, durante el verano del tercer año de high school, SEO, un programa de preparación para la universidad en el cual el hijo mío participa, anima a los estudiantes a participar en programas de enriquecimiento. Como a mi hijo siempre le ha gustado los idiomas y la cultura, SEO lo nominó para viajar a Corea del Sur con NSLI. SEO tuvo una feria con todos los programas de enriquecimiento. Y estaba Chantal, una representante de NSLI, quien mi hijo me hizo sentir muy cómoda. Chantal fue a Corea un año antes que Diógenes, y recuerdo que ella se inclinó antes de nosotros cuando nos vio, así que sabía que la cultura coreana se había quedado con ella. Como era hispana, ella me habló en español. Ella me dijo que iEARN hace un trabajo maravilloso con la seguridad. Habían chequeos de curfew. Y también habían directores residentes que estaban presentes en caso de que mi hijo necesitaba ayuda. Durante el programa, recuerdo que recibí un boletín durante el viaje que me hizo sentir muy contenta. Vi una foto de mi hijo paseando una anciana en silla de ruedas alrededor del hogar de ancianos. Me alegré mucho al saber que mi hijo estaba haciendo trabajo voluntario y que iEARN estaba preocupado por el bienestar de mi hijo. Excuse me as I take a sip of water. Splash on my face. Oh, okay. So to finish, iEARN también le ofreció una pasantía a mi hijo. Él siempre está feliz de estar allá y me cuenta de que amables son las gentes en la oficina. Finalmente, iEARN hace un gran trabajo ampliando la visión del mundo para los estudiantes. Ahora Diógenes está interesado en continuar su pasión con las relaciones internacionales en la universidad. Si no fuera por iEARN-NSLI, nunca hubiera conocido su potencial en estas áreas. Tengo una hermana que también tiene hijos que están comenzando high school muy pronto y la animaré para que apliquen a NSLI para que iEARN también pueda impactar a sus vidas. Thank you. So now we'll give a little translation. So my mom mentions that I'm a part of a college preparation program called SEO. And during the junior year of high school, SEO nominates people to go to enrichment programs. And NSLI is one of these enrichment programs that SEO nominates people for. And they nominated me to go to Korea. And my mom was very worried because she thought of South Korea and she thought of the tension in the area. And she's like, oh, this isn't safe for my child. But SEO has a enrichment program fair in which all the enrichment programs can present to the students and the parents. And at the fair was Chantal, a representative from NSLI, and she spoke about her experience in Spanish, which made my mom feel very connected to her, because when somebody speaks to you in their language, you can really ask them those hard-hitting questions and have an authentic response. And my mom notes that when she met Chantal bowed to her, like many Koreans do. And my mom thought, oh, this person was really impacted by Korean culture, the fact that she would present to us in the way that Koreans do. And also my mom notes that she loved that iEARN and NSLI not only cared about language immersion, but also volunteerism, because she mentions that she was very happy to receive a newsletter in which I was helping an elderly lady at a nursing home in Korea. And that was very exciting for my mom. And also she ends with saying that she's going to encourage her nephews and nieces to apply. And I hope they do. And I hope people watching apply too, if you're able. So thank you. That's the end of my presentation. Yeah, thank you.
That was great, Dio.
Thank you.
Yeah, Dio, thank you so much for sharing about your journey on NSLI and your time here at iEARN, and especially that testimonial from your mother is just, it's so powerful. And I love that story that you shared of your mom speaking with Chantal, and when Chantal bows to your mom.
Yeah.
It's just a really special story, and we're just so grateful that you shared that. So thank you.
Thank you. Anytime.
Yeah, I guess we're kind of wrapping up on our time here. But Dio, if you don't mind, we'll ask you one last question, which would be, do you have any advice for any students considering either NSLI or any other study abroad opportunity, or doing any kind of like virtual exchange, like with iEARN's other international programs? What would you say to them?
So this is actually fresh in my mind because I was speaking to Emily, an alumna from Morocco a few years ago, and she mentioned that if there's one advice that she could give, and I agree with her, is that you should take the opportunity. There would be so many doubts, so many second guesses of why I shouldn't do this, why I shouldn't take the gap year, why I shouldn't take the summer. Maybe I should study for the SAT, or maybe I should go to college directly. But this is a once-in-a-lifetime experience, specifically because it's fully funded, and the support that you get during the program, there's no program like it. And when you're in college or in the future, you're going to regret not having applied, because this is something that shapes you as a person, shapes your maturity, and really amplifies what you want to do in the future. And it doesn't have to be necessarily diplomacy, but even if you want to be a doctor, the communication skills really serve any profession and your future in general. So go for it. That's my advice.
Awesome. Well said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess the final thought I wanted to share is the communication skills you mentioned from NSLI. I thought what you said earlier about when you speak to someone in their native language, in their language, you can ask those authentic questions and build that relationship authentically. And I just thought that was really well said, and that is such the perfect way to describe NSLI and the skills that you get and to connect with people, which is what we try and do here at iEARN, is to build those connections and foster that mutual understanding and empathy around the world.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
We'll definitely share our thanks to your mom too for also participating.
Yeah, of course, I'll let her know. Yeah.
Great. And thank you all for viewing from Facebook, and stay tuned for another webinar that's coming up at 8:30. Yeah. I believe it'll be about iEARN and the Sustainable Development Goals. So we're looking forward to that one too. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.